Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cracking the IUL Code 2. We are just about to get underway here. Before we do, we've got a few housekeeping items to go through. So this first segment is just to kind of let you know what to expect this week and just let you know what kind of topics we're going to be covering and just how the rules of the road are, basically. So first off, we're going to have 3 segments daily that run from 10 a.m. until noon. And if you can't make all the sessions, we are actually planning to record everything. So just hang tight, go to the ones that you can go to. Each session that you do attend, though, will get you an entry into a drawing for a free iPad. Thank you, Joe Spillman, President of VCA Marketing here.
Good morning, everyone.
And Wednesday is our keynote speaker, so you might want to make a note of that. So Wednesday, there are going to be a couple of really special offers that you won't see until Wednesday, so you'll want to make sure that you attend the Wednesday session. And Friday, we're going to be doing a bonus day, which is going to cover some advanced market stuff that is proprietary, some hot stuff that we're doing tons of business with. That gives you a real competitive advantage in the market, and the average commission is about $100,000 per case or more. So they're pretty crazy size cases. Some we've seen that are much larger than that, but obviously we want you to get the most out of this training as possible. So we've got a combination of really good technical stuff that you're going to see from some of the top speakers in the country, along with some stuff about marketing and sales and how to really sell a lot more IUL as well. The two go hand in hand. In fact, I think that the technical sessions are really important, mainly because you don't really have much credibility or authority with any prospect unless you have a thorough technical understanding of what it is that you're selling. And IUL is a complicated product. So for those of you who are already selling it, you know that. And with all the choices in the market today, sure, combined with the complexity of each product, it's a lot to know. We're going to actually cover some really good stuff during this week where we'll show you how to benchmark policies and compare them one against another in the most apples to apples way possible. Along with that, we're going to show you how to stress test a design so that it can be resilient in an adverse market condition, which we may be facing in the near term here. Although it still looks good right now, but you never know when the next bear market's going to hit, and you want your client's policy obviously to be able to withstand that and still thrive. Let's see, at the end of each segment, we are going to have a little time for Q&A. So if you have questions along the way, don't hesitate to just go to the GoToWebinar toolbox there and enter in any questions that you might have right then. And we will try and get to all of those at the end of each segment. And as I mentioned, we're going to be covering both the technical and the selling stuff. So that's not mixed up every day, but just keep in mind that the technical part is essential to selling, and we'll kind of tie that in and why that is. One of the presentations today will actually be a combination of how this fits into your financial plan for a client, but also really a way to sell it too. So it's a little bit of both. And don't worry about remembering everything that we're going to cover. It's a lot. It's 10 hours of content over the whole week here. So we're, like I said, going to give you a way to access all 10 content-packed hours of the summit that you can watch on demand and rewatch if it's something that you really liked. So I think that's it for housekeeping. I don't know how long I've already taken, so sorry about the rambling on.
I'm sure there'll be more as we go through.
Yeah, welcome everybody. So Joe Spillman, our president here, is going to give you a little background on who we are and where we fit in the industry and maybe in your life.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for taking time to spend with us this week. Again, like Jeff kind of noted, if you can mark on the calendar kind of the most important days if you're trying to plan around this, Wednesday is going to be a really big day. That's where our keynote speaker is going to be on. Yep. And I think you guys will really enjoy that one. And then, of course, Friday, we have seen sales in those advanced strategies you're talking about absolutely boom. Yep. And I would say that's one thing that's unique about ECA is that we're kind of leaders in the advanced strategy life insurance case design world today, and we have a lot of producers come to us for help there, and we're really delivering a good value prop when it comes to that kind of business. So quick little background on ECA. We're a 30-year-old fixed annuity and fixed life insurance marketing company. We don't mess around with anything in the securities business, at least as of today. I don't really have any interest in that. It's just a whole new can of worms. We like to stay in our lane. We feel like we're really good at doing what we're doing, and we're going to continue to strive to be one of the industry leaders in that category. I've been with ECA for 20 years now. It's really been a fun business to be in, because the one thing that we always say is learning is so fun in life, and to be able to be in a business like this where learning something new is always there for you as long as you go out there and find it. So a couple of little things about what we do at ECA compared to maybe what some of our competitors do. We really think there's three things that we can deliver to our producers on the field that help you guys write more business. And first one is, all marketing companies, of course, offer product. There's product everywhere. There's 100 different carriers out there that you can choose to do business with. We do a really good job of dissecting all the products out there and finding either niches with certain products that fit, or just making sure that we have access for you guys to get those products that you might want to sell to one of your consumers that frankly sometimes might come asking you for a product specifically. So we've got over 70 carrier contracts, so we've got the product thing covered. What we really learned probably 15 years ago was, frankly, that wasn't enough. You remember the old Allianz watch promotion, Jeff, that we always laugh about. Back 20 years ago, you used to be able to recruit advisors just by giving them a free $20 watch. That's obviously not the case anymore. So we kind of learned from that, and I believe ECA was one of the first marketing companies to really strive to deliver a level of service that was superior to what was out there, to really help producers get their business pushed across the finish line. And on the life insurance side, it's really important because, as you guys know, a lot of times life insurance apps can be 50 pages at times, and knowing which of those pages are important or needed is something that we help our producers with. Top of that, we've hired on staff in-house underwriter to help you guys with any underwriting questions, because a lot of times it's frustrating. You go do all the work, you sell a case, and it comes in and you get an underwriting decision that isn't favorable. So we have a staff member that's here all the time. Ben Rowe can answer any of your underwriting questions and really help you pick which carrier is the best fit for it, as well as our professional staff of life managers that excuse me, can not only help you guys select which products they think is the best fit, but they can show you why, right? It's always that why that's the question mark that producers have, because as a producer, you're always looking for the best thing you can get for your consumer. So the service side, we believe we've got it covered. In fact, we think that most of the industry has copied our model over the last 20 years, which leads us kind of into where we're at today as a marketing company in BGA. And really where we're at today is top level service. We've got the carriers, and then the third piece is a lot of what we're going to talk about this week during the Cracking the Code Summit here, and that is we have teamed up with experts in the industry to help show you guys ways that by learning their concepts and their sales structures can really help you guys grow your business and sell more business by getting in front of new consumers in kind of a different way than maybe you would have without this training. So I would tell you last year we did over 20 in-house live training events, either at our location or at some other location across the country. This year, I think we're trying to strive to do double that. So one thing that we're always constantly doing at ECA is we're looking at sales platforms and sales and marketing systems out there that help with lead gen and client-facing tools that help producers sell more business. And that's one thing that we have really taken our business to the next level, because it's delivering results for our producers and they're selling more business because of it. So as far as ECA, we have 50 employees. Out of those 50, it's 25 salespeople, marketers we call them, and 25 administrative people. So we've got staff here that can help you guys push your cases across the finish line, and we've got staff here that can help you guys design the right case so you can look at your consumer in the eye and let them know that you're selling the best thing that is available for them at the time that you're making your presentation.
So just a couple of questions for you, Joe. Why are we doing a summit on IUL?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty easy answer, and you actually touched on it just a little bit on your housekeeping. IUL is a complicated product, and frankly, I believe it's our fault as an industry. I think we've overcomplicated that product by trying to deliver something that maybe it isn't. There's been some sales strategies out there that a lot of us have seen. Frankly, some of them I'm not a fan of, but a lot of them can be really good. If you kind of strip down that, what I'll call noise of that product in the industry, it's actually a pretty simple product. If you look at it just, generically, it's a product that gives the consumer the safety of knowing they can't lose, but some upside potential if the market can perform strong that can be far superior to what they're going to see in a traditional UL product or even a whole life product, especially in a low interest rate market like we're in today. And because of that kind of combination of how the product works, coupled with the fact that there's not a lot of other places to put money in a tax favorable basis, especially again, when you add that and some of the LTC benefits that are built into life insurance IUL products, there's really not a better product out there for a consumer that wants the tax protection. The problem is it's life insurance, right? And we all know that we use the word life insurance and the person sitting next to you doesn't want to talk to you anymore. So it's about how you present it. It's about how you use the product, and don't overcomplicate it is something I tell producers pretty regularly, because when you overcomplicate it to your consumer, they'll get like the glassy look over their eyes, and it makes it more of a challenge for them to sell it that way.
Well, and I think, as I mentioned earlier, as part of the housekeeping, some of the stuff that we are absolutely covering in addition to the technical stuff. I mean, the reason we're doing an IUL Summit is that it's a hot product. It's a rapidly growing segment of the market. In addition to that, because of the complexity, we felt that there's an industry need for people to get more good technical information. We're going to cover some unique approaches to the technical stuff that also gives you differentiation. So it's not just the sales stuff that we're going to be talking about, but even just how we approach the technical side of things that gives you a competitive advantage or edge. Obviously, over the course of this week, we hope to provide a ton of useful content and valuable information and tools and offers and things that you can take your IUL production to another level. We know obviously many of you already have existing relationships. We just look forward to having you maybe give us a try for some of your business. And I think some of the offers we'll make for you will make it pretty hard for you to say no. So, all right, let's see. So IUL has often been referred to as the Swiss Army knife of financial products. Why is that? I mean, is it
Yeah, absolutely. So, the way I look at that is because it's so flexible. I mean, that's the term with IUL that just goes hand in hand. It's such a flexible product where you can minimum fund it, maximum fund it, up to the MEC rules at times or the TEFRA rules at times, but anything in between, right? Consumers have the flexibility to be able to take out loans from their policy, reduce face down the road if the policy is maybe not performing the way they hoped, or frankly, if they just want to take income out of it, reduce face to reduce the internal fees inside the life contract. Ultimate flexibility is what we're looking for financial products. We want liquidity, and we want that liquidity being a tax favorable basis. And then of course you start adding these riders to the product, and these riders, when I say add, they're free. They come with most of these products that gives you the flexibility to know that you're going to have some kind of an enhanced liquidity feature in the event of chronic, critical, or in a lot of cases LTC needs. So, Swiss Army knife is a good way to define that product because it has so much flexibility, all coupled with the fact that it's got the safety feature built into it, which a lot of people in America today, you kind of mentioned this bull market run that we're on right now. I've been talking with producers the last 3 years that have been telling me that it's going to crash. So for 3 years, it hasn't. It's gone strong.
Yeah, let's take a second and just do a quick poll of everybody out there. There's a ton of you guys still logging in right now. So if we repeat anything in the next few minutes here, I apologize. We're just trying to make sure that we cover everybody. We had about 800 people plus registered today. So lots and lots of new ones are jumping on at every moment here. So, but just a quick poll for everybody out there. Who out there thinks there might be a bear market in the next 12 to, 16 months?
Yeah, well, I'll give you my answer on that just because while we're waiting for people to log in and poll. I truly believe that the government, specifically Trump, has been pulling levers to try and keep the economy looking really, really strong. And obviously most people's gauge of the economy is the stock market performance. So my guess would be is that the market will truck along doing well, unless we get something weird like the coronavirus, right? That right has caused a little bit of variation there in the stock market. But I believe that once Trump either gets reelected or the Democrats get in there as a president, either way, I think that's probably when we're going to look at a market correction because it's overdue. And frankly, there's not a lot more triggers or levers that they can pull to continue to allow the market to withstand this. It's eventually got to correct. We all kind of know that. And it's about a matter of trying to time it and figure out when we think it makes sense that correction will happen.
We're getting kind of a consensus here, just looking through everybody's answers that you're typing into the questions toolbox. So, if you think there's going to be a bull market, type in bull. If you think it's a bear market in the next 12 to 16 months, type in bear. We're just trying to get a sense of what you guys think. It's a good mix. It's like we're getting about a 50-50 here.
It always is, right?
Somebody.
That's what's fun about it.
Right. Well, that's what makes the market, right?
Well, and that's what's interesting about this whole concept of IUL, because we frankly don't care too much whether we get a straight up or some up and down, because we have a cap on the bottom side that we can't lose any money during a real negative run. Now, we certainly need some years of performance, but volatility doesn't necessarily hurt us in the long run. These products, you don't want them to be, consistently bad, of course, but what product out there would be okay if we consistently had bad stock market performance? I don't think there is one.
Well, we've got quite a few people that are saying it depends on what happens in the election. I'm like, well, I understand that. And then I love this answer from Emmanuel. Who cares? Up, down, sideways, IUL. Where is it? I just lost it now. That was a great answer.
Well, we get the point. Up, down, sideways. You just
who cares? Yeah, in the end, it's IUL, right?
Yeah. Well, you need history to repeat itself for these products to perform. And history says that most of the time the market's up, you're going to get some bad years mixed in there. And the whole concept of IUL is to eliminate the negatives during those bad years. And those products do exactly that. So
bear in 15 months, bear in no major corrections in the next 18 months. All right, interesting. So let's go on to some other questions here before we get started. So I'm just going to quickly cover just a couple of quick points on the housekeeping, not the whole thing if you didn't catch it from the beginning and you just logged in. We're running 3 segments a day. This first segment is really just kind of an overview of the week, an intro, a kickoff to the whole week. Total of 2 hours a day of content, runs from 10 a.m. Central to noon daily, 3 different presenters each day. And today is the only day where we'll actually have 2 content segments. The first one today, just so you know, is going to be on taxes and the tax bucket strategy and where IUL fits into that for your client. We may briefly touch on the Secure Act, although that's going to be covered on Friday. So you want to make sure you make it for Friday, because we're going to talk about a unique strategy that uses qualified life insurance as a tool to sort of circumvent the changes in the Secure Act. And then the second presenter today is going to be talking about the various uses of income for IUL. So this will be kind of an interesting presentation as well. What else did I want to say? Oh, for every session you attend, for those of you just logging in, each segment that you attend, we are actually tracking that. So if you attend the entire session, you'll actually get an entry into a drawing at the end, which we're going to do live on Facebook. Probably the following week, we'll do a live stream and draw a winner for a free iPad. So thanks everybody for tuning in and coming to Cracking the IUL Code 2. Let's see here. Friday is our bonus day. So what we're going to be doing on Friday is advanced market stuff. We're going to be talking about 2 hot proprietary strategies and programs that average over $100,000 commission per case. These are big ticket cases for affluent clients, of course, but great opportunity if you don't have these tools in your toolbox that you can only get through us. So, and then let's see, what else do we want to talk about? Each segment, we're going to leave some time for Q&A. We'll probably have about 10 minutes at the end of every segment for Q&A. So don't hesitate to type your questions in as you go. We'll try and capture those and cover them at the end if time permits. And let's see. So back to questions for Joe here. If you guys have questions, by the way, feel free to type those in right now. If you want to ask Joe some questions about ECA marketing, about IUL, about the summit, you name it. We can actually tackle some of those as well, but I have a few more for them. So, what would you say is the biggest challenge for agents selling IUL right now?
Well, 2, I would say. One is that word life insurance, and we kind of talked about that in an earlier session here. Just the concept of you guys selling life insurance to consumers sometimes can be challenging. A lot of times consumers are selfish and they don't see the value in life insurance because they don't really get anything at death because they're dead, right? So they don't get it. They give it to their beneficiaries. And over my 20 years working with thousands of producers over the years, frankly, there's always a situation, it seems like, with their children or grandchildren that they get frustrated about, and they wonder, should I even leave them anything because they did something I didn't like in life? The interesting part about IUL is for the majority of the sales that we make, it is for the owner and the insured that the benefits are going to come from down the road, whether it's an income play or, like we talked about earlier, a long-term care type of a situation, and really, again, in a tax efficient way that they can take income. I mean, that's where this thing really shines, is there's not a lot of investing spots in the world that clients can get tax-free growth, tax-free accumulation, and on the back end get tax-free withdrawals from their policy. And just the concept of that is just so beautiful and so perfect. There's just one problem, and that's the cost of insurance charges that come into it. So again, you have to design these policies properly to try and keep the face amount, in most cases, as small as possible, unless the consumer really has a need for the death benefit or maybe the LTC benefits that are linked specifically to how much death benefit they get. And our marketers, our life case managers, that's what they do. They design these policies to try and keep the costs as low as possible so the consumer can get the majority of the return on these policies.
Well, and I think to make this an interactive session, I'm going to ask everyone out there, what is your biggest challenge in selling IUL? So some of you, I'm sure, are here today because you're new to selling it. Some of you have been selling it, maybe want to sell more or bigger cases, and we'll have solutions over the course of this week that'll help you do just that. But I'd love to hear, what is it that you guys are running into in selling, IUL as a challenge?
Yeah, and a couple of things to add on to that. One thing that I've commonly gotten from producers, frustration about IUL can sometimes be illustrative rates because they don't believe that they can be that true, right? That looks too good to be true for producers. A lot of carriers are out there showing, double-digit returns for the life of an IUL policy. And I will tell you, here at ECA, we try to take the conservative approach on that. Most illustrations that I see run from our life staff are probably showing half of the historical returns that these policies have shown they can do. And I think that's important from our perspective because we'd rather, under promise and over deliver down the road on illustrations on life insurance policies. But what's important for you guys is to understand you got to be comfortable with what the numbers look like that you're selling, because if frankly you're not comfortable with it, the client senses that you're showing something you might not be that comfortable with, and that gives them a sense of maybe they shouldn't be buying this thing. Back to your question, some of the other challenges that I've heard of in selling IUL is getting in front of prospects. And
It seems to be coming up here so far. There's several of those. There's not enough people to talk to. Discussing it with prospects, I don't know if that means that it's too complicated to try to discuss it, and they need a more systematic way to take this complicated product and simplify it for a consumer to understand it. We've got the fees are the hard part for most people to get their minds around. I'm like, yep, a great point there.
Yep. Yeah, as far as the prospecting point, stay for the whole week's summit here, guys, because we're going to be talking about the best prospecting tools available in the industry today as it relates to selling IUL. It's really a good timing for this industry in IUL because we are in this long-term sustained low interest rate market, and some of the other products just don't show the client much reward because interest rates are so low, whereas an IUL still can do it. Now, with an IUL, of course, it's linked to the performance of some indice, and that's a stock market kind of a link. And there's concern that we're going to get a crash. Well, like the one guy said, we don't care if the market's up, down, or sideways, because with an IUL, we guarantee and we know by the claims paying ability of the carrier that these things are not going to lose money for your consumer. And frankly, if we get a bad year mixed in there, we get that annual reset and we get to restart at the lower number and just start to take advantage of gains when the market comes back to where it was. But I agree with that comment, Jeff, that you mentioned some people are making. Not enough people to tell the story to, not enough consumers to get in front of. So those of you that asked that or made that comment specifically, stay tuned. Wednesday, I think, is going to be the big day when it comes to the prospecting tool and the prospecting program that we've teamed up with, and we've got dozens of advisors already doing it. And I will tell you that the reps that are doing it are getting in front of a lot of prospects, and they're having really good success. Qualified prospects, yeah. And they're making a lot of sales because they're getting in front of the prospects. So the program that you're going to learn about shows you a way to get in front of consumers in a way that's systematic. You know what you're going to get out of the deal. And on top of that, we're going to help with showing the client the right thing that's going to kind of simplify some of the confusion about the product and put you in a position of high likelihood of success with the sales of those prospects.
So I'm just reading through a bunch of your responses here. So it's definitely there's kind of a mix here, but clearly Even explaining it seems to be an issue. So that's having a good track to run on and a way to explain IUL in a simple way, or even have the right kind of messaging. I think if you guys stick around to the end today, I've got something that might help with that. So
yeah, I would say that, you know, I've been in sales for my entire career, either here or selling other things. And the biggest thing that makes salespeople not successful in their sales process is when they're not comfortable with what they're selling. Because again, the client senses that. And I will tell you that at ECA here, our wholesalers spend a lot of time with those reps, kind of explaining it and getting them comfortable with what it is that they're selling. You know, if you can be transparent with your consumer, let them know the good parts and the bad parts, both, and still have them walk away wanting that policy, not only are you going to have better sales results because you're coming across as a more confident salesperson, but you're going to have stickier business where you're going to get your renewal stream and the policies aren't going to lapse. And persistency is really important in our business. Carriers definitely want to see that money stay on the books and those policies stay on the books. And we have a great persistency ratio here at ECA because we're not doing the turning and burning thing. You know, we're not replacing policies all the time that don't make sense. We're putting in a position of high likelihood again of success, and that's been really a positive thing for our producers.
So it sounds like some of the other things that are coming up here are comparisons to other alternatives. Obviously, you have your existing advisors aren't familiar with it, CPAs aren't familiar with it, so other financial professionals aren't really educated about the product. Another good reason why we're having this summit today, this week. I mean, it's not just today. Closing cases. So this is, again, part of some of this comes down to messaging and how you're framing what IUL is and what it can do and where it fits in their overall financial plan. So that's kind of leading me into a segue into our first presenter, because we're about 4 minutes out from that. And our first presenter is going to actually be talking about how IUL can be used for tax control and where it fits into somebody's financial plan. So it's not and I don't know how all of you folks are selling this, but one of the things that we've found that really leads to successful IUL sales is don't try to sell just one thing. Don't try to convince them that this is like the only product they should own in their portfolio. That's a hard sell. That's going to definitely turn a lot of people off, especially when they're conditioned to buy mutual funds and invest in the stock market and whatever. If you try to get them to put all their money into an IUL, that's one, probably not a great plan to begin with, and two, it's probably not going to help you sell. If you really want to sell it, we're selling it as a piece of the puzzle and a way that gives you some additional tax control that's outside of what other vehicles are available. So you're going to learn a lot about that in the next segment, which I think you'll find very interesting. Like I said, stick around to the end today, because I think we're going to have something for you that you're all going to love, that's going to get you in front of more prospects. It's going to help them reframe their thinking about what you're showing them and give you a new way to have a conversation with them that about life insurance and about IUL and how it fits in that you haven't had before. So I don't know if you want to add anything. We're about 2 minutes out before we have to bring on
just real quick. It's interesting. You know, probably the last 10 producers I've talked to, about half of them have told me that they're talking about other products, which is leading them into selling more IUL. And, you know, to dig a little deeper into the weeds on that, what products are we talking about? Well, the first one is LTC. And we've all been around long enough to know that the LTC market has been in a challenging spot for a long time because the carriers didn't know how to price that stuff. Well, the interesting part is with life insurance, you either get the death benefit or they'll give it to you early in need of long-term care. So they know how to price life insurance, and it's pretty easy actually for them to price it if they got to give it to the client early, because most of the time when a client needs an LTC event happens, the time to death is not that far away. So the carriers giving up that death benefit early is not that big a deal, because they're just giving it up a little earlier than they would otherwise, because the client's probably going to pass away in the next few years anyway if they're needing a long-term care situation. Not always, of course. Most of the time we're talking about, you know, I think we all heard the average stay in an LTC, you know, full LTC facility is typically about 2 years. So they know how to price it on the life insurance side, and that's why you're seeing more and more carriers the last 5 years. In fact, I think almost most carriers, I could say, have added some kind of LTC feature to their product. So a lot of our reps are having good success selling IUL, just talking about how the LTC benefits are big. And then the other one would be the Roth IRA, of course, because those two tools, right, an IUL and a Roth IRA, or frankly, cash value life and a Roth IRA, are really the only tools out there where we can put money and grow it tax-free. and then have it come out tax-free later.
Yeah, and I think that brings up a good point. It's like, who are we selling IUL to? Are you selling it to somebody that's, barely got any money to put into a life insurance policy? That might not be the right market, in my opinion. Not that they shouldn't own it or couldn't have a place for them to own this type of product, but really, where is the market for IUL? And that's often folks that have already, maxed out other alternatives like a Roth IRA, and they still want to be able to contribute to something that's tax deferred and even tax free, just like a Roth. They may still have a need for additional death benefit in the near term, although we are designing these for maximum accumulation and ultimately income in most cases. That death benefit can still be beneficial, especially if we have some living benefits like a long-term care benefit. So
yeah, they're absolutely designed for middle-class America.
Are you open?
And above,
affluent middle class or affluent people in general. Right. And that's what these policies are designed for. And that's what we see, that's what the cases are that we're seeing come in the door.
So here's a great question. And this sort of pits you against me. Joe's sort of the annuity guy and I'm sort of the life guy, although I like both. And I'm sure Joe does too. But yeah, the question is indexed annuity versus IUL. Sometime this week, can we show how the two compare in terms of return to the purchaser? So what are the benefits between an annuity versus life insurance on an income basis? So,
first off, I doubt you have a comparison this week side by side between an index annuity and
I don't think I do, but we can. That's something that you could probably get in touch with one of our marketers and they can put something like that together for you.
Yeah, so. I mean, look, the big challenge is on index annuities today, just like any annuities today, is we're in this long-term low interest rate market. And with an annuity, the carrier has no choice but to live on the spread, right? They have to earn 5-6% in their portfolio, and they have to be able to afford to give the client part of that, which is the definition really of a fixed annuity. Today's fixed annuity rates are 3.5% maximum. So the carrier's portfolio rate's probably only earning, maybe 5 in this, low sustained interest rate market. There's a lot of pressure on those. Whereas on an index product, they're, instead of giving the client that maybe 3 to 3.5%, they're reinvesting those into options, which can give the client a bigger return than the 3 to 3.5% if the market performs. The interesting part is a lot of people over my career have asked, why are IUL cap rates and participation rates and just features so much better? Yeah. Well, there's another way a carrier can make money selling a life insurance policy versus an annuity. Annuity, they have to stick with that spread. So on a life insurance policy, they can actually reinvest more of their portfolio yield into participation rates, cap rates, those type of things, because they have the cost of insurance charges that they make some of their profits on. And frankly, they reinsure most of that risk anyway. So it's a pretty good little margin that they get to make on it, which, kind of translates into the problem with life insurance. There's costs involved with life insurance. We have to overcome those costs versus the annuity. There's typically not riders, there are typically not fees built into these index annuities unless you add a rider to it. I mean, some of course have fees built into them, but the whole thing is understanding what the value is to the end consumer. One thing I would say, and this will probably be Jeff's answer, is fixed annuities, of course, whether index or any type, those are kind of ticking tax time bombs because you're hoping for a good return on your investment on those policies, but at some point you got to take the interest out and you got to pay taxes on it. And the current tax code makes you take the interest out first. So a lot of times you're going to get hit with a big taxable hit on the beginning when you start withdrawing money from an annuity. In some creative strategies, you can spread out that risk by annuitizing and getting an exclusion ratio. But the value on the life insurance, of course, is, Jeff, as you know very well,
is that we get to take that money out at a zero instead of any taxable. So
yeah, and in fact, it doesn't count against anything. It doesn't count against Social Security income. So you can take out a huge withdrawal to life insurance policy and not get in a position where you can get taxed on Social Security income. You're not going to have to pay the increased Medicare or Medicare cost of your in retirement. So it's good money to be able to take as you will. And that's why part of what we talked about earlier, it really is the Swiss Army knife of investments, because you don't have to care about how much you take out. You can take as much as you want, as long as you don't put your policy at risk, of course.
Yeah, of course. And obviously good design is a big part of this. So, well, I think we're done with our intro session here. We're a few minutes over even. So